You hear that? Silence, right? Now listen to this. Hi, my name is Zandra Johnson, and I'll be introducing you to the world of K-pop and how it has influenced American political activism and Asian hate crime rates with an emphasis on Korean crimes from the 2010s to present day. This will include the history of K-pop, interviews from individuals who listen to K-pop and who don't, data points using the form of graphs, as well as my own personal testimony, if we come to that. Now, if you are already a K-pop fan, then you must know this information. But if you aren't a K-popy, you have much to learn when it comes to the history of it. So, for those who don't know, K-pop is actually an abbreviation of Korean pop, which is made in South Korea. K-pop can encompass many different genres, such as ballads, reggae, hip-hop, salsa, you name it. K-pop actually began with the Kim sisters in the 1950s. While the three-member group didn't know English, they performed countless American pop songs phonetically. The group, which consisted of a Sukja or Su, Aija, and Mia or Minja, began forming when Su was only 9 years old due to the necessity of putting food on the table. For more background, during the 1950s, South Korea was at war with North Korea, and the Kim family was under a very strenuous time, with Su's father having been already allegedly put in prison and killed, as well as their house having been burned down. In the 1959s is where the Kim sisters embarked to the U.S. after being connected with a Las Vegas producer by the name of Tom Ball. Through him, they were able to not only perform in front of American audience successfully, but also be the first Asian group to produce music in the U.S., which was specifically in 1963. Through their efforts of releasing records and singles in both Korea and the United States, they were able to appear on different programs and variety shows, establishing their roots as the first South Korean music group to be successful in the U.S. Some other notes on the Su sisters include that they were the first singers to have their song listed on the Billboard chart. Other sister-based groups tried to emulate them, such as the Pearl sisters, the Chung sisters, and the Yi sisters. Her mother is the individual who created the K-pop act, and she also attempted to create a similar group of the opposite gender in the form of Su's brothers. Following the 1950s were the 1990s, exciting, where Seo Taiji and Boys, which was the first band that actually resembled both fandom and K-pop music, was born. It's also stated that Seo Taiji revolutionized Korean pop by merging it with American music. You can see this in the form of certain lyrics that are used in songs, certain beats, and even the way it's produced. Additionally, through Seo Taiji and Boys hip hop, choreography was introduced, which is how K-pop was produced and ultimately how they became the first Korean boy band. So, I know that was quite a lot to learn, but there's more. In K-pop, there are many different generations. There's a bit of a debate as of yet over which generation we're in, but typically they are spaced out in about 10-year segments, meaning we're currently in the 5th generation of K-pop, since the first was technically established with Seo Taiji and the Boys in 1990. So, with that being said, the first generation, which was again formed in the 1990s and went on to the 2000s, saw the first generation of K-pop stars, such as H.O.T., which was considered the first true pop group because its members were actually trained under a company and personally picked out or scouted, whichever you prefer. They released a song titled Candy in 1997. Other popular groups of this time include Seches Kais, which was debuted in 1997 and was a boy band. And there was also SES, which debuted also in 1997 but was a girl band. And then there was Fin.K.L, which debuted in 1998. Now let me tell you, I don't know any of these bands. Way too young. But comes to our second generation, which saw stars such as G.O.D, which debuted in 1999, TVXQ, which was a duo and debuted in 2003, a year before I was born. Super Junior, which debuted in 2005. Big Bang, which debuted in 2006. And FT Island, which debuted in 2007. Through word of mouth from many of my fellow K-pop stans, I think I'm right in saying that these are technically the classics of K-pop. I myself know TVXQ, Super Junior, and Big Bang. Bang, bang, bang. You know that? Okay. The mentioned K-pop groups are household names that everyone either knows or knows of, whether it's through hearing these songs in K-dramas, seeing a member from that group act in a K-drama, or hearing some news about a specific member through the grapevine. You really always hear about them, no matter what. You may even hear someone's name and think, you were part of a K-pop band? I've listened to that song before. They even have songs. I know Big Bang, they have their song on, I think it's the 2021 version of Just Dance. Like, that's how far reaching they are at this point in time. So I also want to just give a quick shout out to PSY as well. He can't be swept under the rug. He literally swept the world with Gangnam Style back in 2012. Just want to throw that out there. Another classic. So today's focus will actually be on our third generation of K-pop, at least what I consider third generation of K-pop to be, which reigned from the 2010s and 2020s if we are still, as mentioned before, keeping up with the 10-year intervals. This time frame is actually where K-pop saw most of its traffic, where many songs dominated world charts due to the popular groups such as BTS, which debuted in 2013, EXO, 17, and Blackpink, which all debuted within that same time range. There are also groups to take stock of as well, such as Stray Kids, GOT7, and Mamamoo, which some people may say is either fourth or third generation. To make it simple, I'm keeping them in third generation. So, with that being said, K-pop in America was actually seen as a bit of an anomaly due to its surprising increase in fan base over the past decade. I know this for a fact considering I became a fan around the same time BTS debuted, and it was like watching, like, being an anime fan. It was embarrassing to tell someone that you liked K-pop. But now it's like, oh, I listen to BTS. I do too. Really? Wow. Yay. It's not like a for lack of better words, a cult, or you're just like, are you a K-pop listener? Are you not? You kind of look like one, but I'm scared to talk to you. You get my drift? Yeah. We're like this, locked in. So I don't want to forget to mention fourth generation K-pop as well. We see a lot of people are familiar with such groups as ENHYPEN, debuted in 2020, IVE. I hope I'm saying their name right. I don't really stan them, but they debuted in 2021. And of course, &TEAM debuted in 2022. Although I might be interested in standing them, just to throw that out there. So we are currently in the fifth generation of K-pop. And with that being said, I'm now going to give you folks background on the three groups that we are going to be focusing on today. So to start off, we're going to focus on BTS, as mentioned before in a little, segue. They have multiple names, first being Bulletproof Boy Scouts. They're also called Bangtan Boys, and my favorite, Bangtan. I hope I said that right. So this powerhouse of a group debuted in, again, as previously mentioned, 2013, and was formed by Bang Si-hyuk, or as many people like to say, Hitman Bang, a successful songwriter and music producer who established his own studio, Big Hit Entertainment, although we already know what it's called now. Now, many of you may know that the Big Hit Entertainment has transformed into Hype Corporations. It's kind of scary. However, the company was quite poor in the past. BTS, which was a 7-member group, was essentially Big Hit's last hope in a successful act. The members of BTS consist of Namjoon, whose stage name is RM, previously known as Rap Monster, Seokjin, whose stage name is Jin, Yoongi, who goes by Suga for BTS, and August D for his solo artistry or career. Hoseok, who goes by J-Hope, or fans affectionately like to call him Hobie. Jimin, Taehyung, whose stage name is V, while fans also like to call him Tae. And lastly, Jungkook, or Jungkook, who's also the maknae, which is also a Korean term for the youngest member of a K-pop group, in case you didn't know that. So that's on BTS. If we're going to start thinking of, Stray Kids now, our second focus point, they debuted in 2018, okay? A group that's considered, somewhere in between the fourth and the third generation. Again, for this video, we're sticking with third generation. Their members participated in a reality survival show, which created a group of idols based upon their abilities. These sort of shows in which a group is created based on their skills is highly common in South Korea. Stray Kids was formed under JYP Entertainment, which was funded by Park Jin-young, with Park being the last name for those that may not know, in case I didn't mention that before. The group previously was a 9-member group. However, there was a scandal, but it was cleared up with a member that arose, which led to eventual absence of the member known as Woojin. With that being said, at present, the members consist of Christopher, or Chan, with his stage name being Chan. However, fans call him Chan. Minho, his stage name being Lino. I love that name just because it's so wishy-washy. It's very fun to say. Changbin, and then there's Hyunjin, Jisung with his stage name being Han, Felix or Youngbok, depending on how you like to call him, but his stage name is also Felix, Seungmin, and Jeongin with his stage name being In. Also, fun fact, In is the maknae, again, youngest member of the group. So this last group we'll be focusing on is GOT7. This group debuted also under JYP in 2014. However, it's since become a self-owned group after its leave in 2021. GOT7 is also a 7-member group, which consists of J-Bum, with his stage name being JB, previously J just a letter, B just a letter. Yeon Twan, or Yeon, whose stage name is Mark. Wang Kai, whose stage name is Jackson. Jin Young, who was formerly known as Junior or Junior, spelled different ways. Young J, Bam Bam, and Yoongyum. Yoongyum is the maknae. All right, so with that being said, we're transitioning to section 2. So, when it comes to political activism, it can be looked at in many different ways. Liberties.eu states, simply put, activism refers to action taken challenging those in power to bring about change in society and benefit the greater good. Additionally, Oxford Review states, activism refers to the practice of taking action to affect social, political, economic, or environmental change. It encompasses a wide range of activities from grassroots organizing, and protests to lobbying, advocacy, and community outreach as well. At its core, activism aims to challenge the status quo, address inequalities, and amplify marginalized voices. From what I gather from this, I think it's safe to assume that K-pop music can be brought into play through music videos, public appearances, and especially through the lyrics that are used and presented to its consumers, which is in and of itself community outreach. For example, if we're going to study K-pop lyrics, I'm your girl. Let's start with BTS's No More Dream. In verse 4, J-Hope states, Throw a fastball towards self-study. That is a waste of time. Disobey the hell of a society. Grant a social pardon to your dream. Ask yourself, what is your dream's profile? Become the subject of your own life that's always been suppressed. Through this verse, we can see themes of encouragement to speak out for a specific cause. Telling an individual to not fall into the wants of society clearly demands outrage and action. BTS's Am I Wrong? In this song, Suga states, we're all dogs, pigs, become dogs because we're angry. Stork versus crow tit warring day. Crazy world, yeah. In verse 1. This verse actually has a significance as it references when Na Hyung Wook, a Ministry of Education, proposed a caste system with the reasoning that all people are dogs and pigs. This song, coming shortly after that announcement, proved to be one of BTS's strongest political movements, as while the entire verse referred to individuals who want to achieve more in life, the statement on dogs and pigs wasn't a mistake on BTS's part, if you get my drift. In addition to Suga's famous line, both Jimin and Jungkook state that the world is going crazy, and RM even shows themes of questioning how people don't react strongly to the state of news and media in this day and age, such as in Mayday phrase. BTS's No, or N.O, has themes of encouraging students to not follow the Korean society's mission to have their students study an exorbitant amount due to how detrimental that can be to South Korean students. A specific verse that touched on this subject is from verse 2 spoken by Suga. Who is the one who made us into study machines? It's either number one or a failure. They trap us in borders, the adults. There's no choice but to consent. Even if we think simply, it's the survival of the fittest. Who do you think is the one who makes us step on even our close friends to climb up? What? That verse right there speaks volumes on what Suga and BTS as a whole really think about how South Korea treats their students. And in turn, when they have American listeners tuning into these sort of songs, it makes them also question, how are they being taught and why are they being taught in a certain way? So, BTS's Change, which is also a collaboration with the American artist Well, there is a clear call to action as the song is titled Change. Similarly to No More Dream in N.O. or No, RM conveys through his lyrics the want of change within how South Korea treats its students. Again, RM's quote, "Oh, F the school. All we got is mad teachers and some visible classes, divided space and forever lasting stresses. Everybody's mad. Kill people with fingers on Twitter. More than a gun, more than a knife. The tip of your tongue just glitter." There's always also a chorus of "World is gonna change" that just goes on and on and on. It shows a message. That repetition shows a message. Well, who is also an exceptional artist, in my opinion, has a moment where he even states, "Wish that I could change the world, but they hold back. When it's time to go, the world just be mad again. And what if I could change the world with a pen and pad? When it's time to vote, the people turn to mannequins. Challenge that. Namjoon, I'm the man too. I'm out in Chevy Chase, the teachers used to lampoon. I sing songs, haikus, over rap tunes, high IQ." This brings significance considering this is an American artist essentially discussing political issues with a South Korean artist. So, transitioning back to just BTS singing their songs, in 21 Century Girl, I just want to mention how this song uplifts women to be their best and not listen to the world. I think that really kind of shows not necessarily feminism, but in a sense, being a woman and just being proud to be a woman, even though we're considered, not secondary genders, but minorities. So, in BTS's Not Today, there's also a theme of aggression and unity, in a sense, with the intro stating, "All the underdogs in the world, a day may come when we lose. but it's not today. Today we fight. Said by RM. In the second verse, RM also says, yeah, we are extra, but still part of this world. Extra plus ordinary. There's nothing at all. We won't ever die today. Light shines through the darkness. It wants a new world in you. Oh, baby, yes, I want it. This shows that BTS does still want change in a way. Additionally, in the bridge of the song, there's a line that states, break the glass ceiling that cages you. When it comes to Stray Kids, while their songs are not inherently political, they do instead have uplifting tones and suggest unity and strength. For example, some of the nature of these songs include Mirror, Grow Up, and I Am You. Another song that does the same thing as the previous mentioned Stray Kids song is GOT7's If You Do, in my opinion. So, when it comes to crime in K-pop, we'll be looking at, again, Asian hate crimes, but with an emphasis on K-pop. Sorry, Koreans as a whole. In recent years, K-pop superstars BTS have spoken out at the White House on the rise of Asian hate crimes. In addition to that, GOT7 members have also spoke out on the hashtag Stop Asian Hate on Twitter. And other information that I want to say on that is there's a few graphs that I found recently which stated about how about 1/3 of US Asians know another Asian person who's been threatened or attacked since COVID-19. What I wanted to focus more on as well is Koreans and how they have 35%. And again, this is in the US. And something that I just briefly want to mention is how a lot of these times during the COVID-19 issue, there was a lot of political activism being shown. There was the new administration, President Trump, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that part. Again, while Stray Kids, from my knowledge, has not outright spoken against Asian or Korean hate crime, they have also suffered firsthand in America on how hate crimes can be developed, can be formed through bias. For example, when they went to Met Gala, there was a photographer, and a lot of my K-popies, my K-pop friends may know of this, but essentially the photographer was very racist in a sense in which they were being completely rude, just not using the right language with them. It was absurd. And with that being said, I will now transition to all of my interviews. So the first individual I interviewed was Miss Virginia. I do want to apologize for these interviews. However, the audio may not be as up to par as I would like, but I still hope you guys enjoy. More live. Okay. All right. So I'm going to treat it just like I did with the audio ones, except we're visual this time around. So, hi guys. My name is Nyandria Johnson. I'm here with Miss Virginia Aikens. She is actually my mentor at New England College. You can say hi to the folks. So we're gonna go ahead with the interview. I guess we can go ahead with the first question. So, when did you first experience K-pop? For example, was there a specific moment where you realized you were listening to K-pop or experiencing it?
I used to teach high school English, and about 13 years ago, 2011, 2012, I first had a student who was very, very much a fan of K-pop. And in one of my classes, when we were working on poetry and music, she shared a very intense and very long essay and project that was about K-pop. In particular, she was a fan of the band Shiny and had actually been to two of their concerts in the United States. And she shared that music with me, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I got lost on YouTube watching videos, and it had introduced me to a whole bunch of K-pop bands.
All right. So moving on to our second question, what was your first reaction to K-pop?
I thought it was incredibly well produced. And it was also interesting to hear about the ways that like the Korean government like influenced and was involved in the production of music. I was like, huh, I did not expect that at all. And then just listening to the music itself and watching the videos, I was like, wow, this is really great.
I like that you also bring up the South Korean government's
Hmm.
involvement in K-pop
Yeah,
because
no,
it shows even today.
absolutely. She she went into depth about it, like explaining how the bands were formed and then it was fascinating.
All right. So our third question is going to be, has your experience with K-pop affected your daily life in any way? If so, why?
Um, Anytime that I've found myself influenced by information or media that my students bring to me to share, I find that it's a good experience because it keeps me learning new things and also kind of opens my mind and helps me see a different perspective. Like, I probably would not have found that on my own. And I was grateful and that she was willing to share it because 15 years ago, people were not quite as open to that sort of thing. And so her experience with it previous to that had been people thinking she was weird, odd. She's what a strange girl. Why are you listening to that music? You can't even speak the language. And I was like, no, I get it. Like I absolutely get it. And it brought me closer to her and also allowed her to open up a little more and be willing to share with other people because she finally had the experience of sharing with somebody who was like, wow, this is really cool. I'm really excited that you've introduced me to this new thing. Well, new for
Yeah.
me. It was.
Alrighty. So our next question is going to be, do you feel as if K-pop influences Americans in any way?
Oh, absolutely. I can't remember what year it was, but it was a while back now when the American Music Awards finally introduced like a K-pop category in their awards show. And I found it interesting that, the reaction, I think in some ways was incredibly positive, and it was great that they were, open to doing that. But at the same time, there was kind of a backlash of, wait a second, does that mean Korean artists can only win that category? Because like the same year, several really major songs came out and that was the only category that the Korean pop stars were noted for or involved in. It was like, I don't know. That was a little bit
Yeah.
unusual, I thought.
Yeah. Kind of puts a divide in
Uh,
between
uh,
there.
Puts a divide and puts like a box around, okay, we checked that off. We've paid attention to someone from another country. Yay,
Yeah.
go us. We're so open-minded.
Okay. So digging a little bit deeper now, what have you witnessed K-pop do to others? For example, do you think that Americans act differently if they, listen to K-pop or a different form of music?
I think America is so noted for spreading its own pop culture all over the world. And, is there any country in the world where they don't know what Disney is or, Mickey Mouse, but I think my experience of it as a teacher has been that students who become interested in the music or the art or the history of another country, it opens them up to experiencing the world in a different way. Like America isn't the only place that exists. Like there are other places where people are also proud of their heritage and proud of their culture and want to share that with the world. And I feel like my students that I've met who are interested in that tend to be a little bit more educated and open-minded about what else there is out there in the world.
Sorry, just noting that down.
That's all. It's good.
Alrighty. So our next question is going to be, what are your thoughts on political activism?
I think that if we're going to continue to have the society that we've had for the past 200 some odd years, people need to be involved. So I'm a proponent of political activism, especially if it's to share that, the world is smaller than it used to be, and everything we do, our decisions impact everyone around us, not just in this country, but outside of the country. So political activism is important, being aware of what's going on in the world and what's going on in your local community too.
Mhm. Okay. So, with that being said, do you think Korean pop groups have had a hand in how Americans deal with politics?
I mean, I think they probably have, because people who are tend to be very interested in any aspect of a country outside of the United States, um, would tend to be more interested in what's going on and seeing parallels and differences between another country and our country. I think that right there makes people go, oh, huh, well, yeah, I mean, obviously I love my country, but there are other things, there are other ways to go, other things that are good in the world that aren't American. Not to say anything bad about America, but we're not perfect.
Absolutely. So, with fans being anywhere from the age of 9 to well over 50, in what capacity do you think BTS, GOT7, or Stray Kids has influenced American fans to pay attention to politics?
Well, okay, in the example of, say, BTS, it's always been interesting to me how um Korean bands, um they serve in their military. Like people of a certain age spend a few years in military service. And I think that has been an interesting dichotomy because, in the States, you can choose to serve or not. And I think that has been interesting for a lot of fans because they're like, oh, well, my favorite band's on hold until this one person comes back from their tour of duty. And I think that's kind of opened people's minds to, oh, things really are different in other countries. Oh, maybe I should think about that. Maybe I should find out more about it. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure I answered the question completely.
Well, I honestly feel like you kind of have because,
Okay.
even looking at the military, it kind of brings in that democracy, for lack of better words. I'm like, why can they not choose to not enter? I mean, obviously, we all know, they are close in proximity to North Korea, so it is different in that regard. But I think you kind of touched on that
Okay,
topic.
awesome.
Thank you.
Uh,
So, do you think K-pop has influenced hate crime, hate Asian hate crimes as well in America? If so, how so?
I think it's made them more visible because there are more fans who are active in the community, regardless of their background. Um, People know more and they're willing to speak out and say, hey, this is not okay. It wasn't until, the past few years, at least on social media, that I personally saw more and more people speaking out about Asian hate crimes in the United States. And part of that is because there are so many people who are really interested and vocal about their love of Asian culture. And so I think in some ways it has influenced it for the fact that it's more visible and people aren't just like, oh, that doesn't happen. No, it does happen. And it's not okay. And we should speak out about it, especially if, to make people aware.
Snaps to that.
Mm.
So, our second to last question is, do you think Asian hate crimes rising or falling was caused by it, as in K-pop being popular? If so, do you think K-pop artists speaking out against it has lowered its effectiveness?
I think the visibility of it has risen because of K-pop and other forms of media that people are growing more and more familiar with and loving more and more. Um, I think that the fact that K-pop bands speak out about it maybe indicates to people who might not otherwise think about that, oh, this is a thing that exists. I didn't even identify that on my radar as being something that is important. And now that I know, I probably will say something. Um, so yeah, I think them speaking out about it is important because, you know, we're all just living our own little lives and kind of in our heads. And if something doesn't impact us directly, we might just let it go. But if someone that we respect, someone that we admire says, hey, yo, are you unaware of this? You shouldn't be unaware of this because it happens all the time. Then you're like, oh, yeah, maybe I should know about this. Maybe I should get involved. Maybe I should speak out and say this is not okay.
Great answer. So, our last question, woohoo, is going to be, after this interview, do you think you are more interested in K-pop?
Yeah, I mean, I've been interested in it for a long time, but I do know that after you first asked me to do the interview, I immediately went back through and was like, I haven't listened to Stray Kids for a while. Maybe I should check some more of that out. And while I was looking, found some other bands. I was like, oh, how come I didn't know about this one? Oh, I like this one. Oh, this is good. This is okay. So yeah, I'm more interested in it.
Yay. You're the third person I've had more interested.
Always a good thing. I was like, maybe I should learn Korean next. At
I,
least
I,
I'm
I could help
happy.
you. I could help you. Well, that has been the end of our interview. Thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Welcome. Thank you for asking.
Of course, anytime.
Hello, this is Andrea once again interviewing Miss Reagan this time around. She is a normie, for those who don't know. That is someone who does not listen to K-pop on a normal basis. She is a sophomore at Virginia Tech with a major in philosophy, political science, and economics, and a minor in science, technology, and law. With that being said, we're going to get into the first question. So, Reagan, when did you first experience K-pop? For example, was there a specific moment where you realized you were listening to K-pop or experiencing it?
I think the first time I actually ever heard K-pop, I don't remember, it wasn't Apple, but it might have been like Samsung or Android. It was a phone. It was a phone commercial. And it was a BTS song. I think a BTS song in the background. And I want to say, I don't remember how it went, but I remember the chorus did have some English in it. And it was cool. It was upbeat. And I remember I actually thought it was really catchy. I really enjoyed it.
Wow, I love that. So, what was your first reaction to K-pop?
Um, my first reaction, I think when I heard it in that song, it was I don't know, I really enjoyed it. Like I thought it had a really good beat. I'll have to try and find the song now. I'm like really curious what it was. But I did think it was like it had like a really good like vibe to it. Like I just felt it felt very light is the best way I would describe it. It had like a lot of energy, but it felt very chill at the same time, which I know is like contradictory, but I don't even know how to describe it. It was very upbeat, but also very chill, just great vibes all around.
If it was a BTS song, I can guarantee
Yeah.
that.
I feel like I can like hear it in my head, but like I don't know like what the lyrics are, but in my brain I can hear it. But it was great. It just made me feel very like I was just like kind of dancing along, it was fun.
Love that. So, has your experience with K-pop affected your daily life in any way? If so, why?
I mean, not as someone who doesn't really listen to K-pop, no. But I honestly would get into K-pop because I feel like a lot of the stuff I listen to is or like the music I interact with on a daily basis is relatively similar in a way. Like, or I just listen to a lot of the same things over and over again. So I wouldn't mind branching out in a way. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll look into it.
I love that. I love that answer.
Thank you.
So, do you feel as if K-pop influences Americans in any way?
I do think it has made like Korean culture very like it's kind of given it this new essence or like shed light on it in a new way in America. I think like sometimes like I don't know if I knew much about Korean culture prior to kind of like the surge in K-pop, and I think it has really like shed a light on Korean culture in general within America's culture. Like I feel like a lot of people are more aware of it and like just like the things it's kind of brought attention to. I don't know how to word it exactly, but I do find it really fascinating how I just feel like it's made a lot of Americans very hyper aware of like Korean culture and certain things that like I mean maybe just because I was younger I didn't realize, but I mean just it really has just shed a light on things that I think a lot of people don't normally realize or like recognize.
Okay. What has your what have you witnessed K-pop do to others? For example, do you think that Americans act differently due to listening to a different form of music?
I will say just from like when I've interacted with you and like a few other friends I know who listen to K-pop, like the one thing that like the really common like denominator factor that I really realized with a lot of people who listen to K-pop is like they just love how like how uplifting it is. Like I feel like with BTS specifically, I hear a lot about how like they're just very uplifting and it's very like loving and like love yourself, like love your life, and like I feel like I look at the people who listen to it and I feel like I can see like where they like they have that like almost lightness to them, like where it's like yes, like I love myself, like I love life, like this is so great, like whereas like sometimes I go through phases where I listen to a lot of rap music, for instance, like American rap music. And I think I told you, like last week and this week, like I'm not listening to rap music at all during the week. Like I'll let myself on the weekends, like when it's time to go out and party or whatever. But like I think when I listen to a lot of rap music, like it kind of seeps into my subconscious in a way. Like the stuff like I'm like singing about or like just like it's constantly being drilled into my head. And I don't know if it's like the rap music specifically that's bad, but I think it's the lack of like self-love music or like other different types of music that like really help me like process my emotions. So I don't know if it's per se like the raps like if rap is bad for me, but I think it is not good for me and other Americans to like not listen to like music that is like deeply emotional in a way. It like helps you feel something or like reminds you to love yourself or like whatever like the underlying message is. Like with K-pop, what I think of is like the whole like self-love message that like a lot of like music does kind of have to it. And I think that like the lack of that, like when Americans, not even just Americans, like anyone, I guess, like doesn't listen to music like that regularly, I do think it like seeps into your subconscious and like has a negative effect on you. And I think that's one thing I notice about with K-pop listeners is like they just are so in touch with that like self-love and like positive like aspect of like their brain and themselves, and they can just process things. I don't know, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, as a K-pop listener, I do feel like more often than not, more songs are featuring self-love and, actually paying more attention to your inner workings, than American music, which is why I myself don't really listen to as much American music as I would want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so on to the next question. What are your thoughts on political activism?
I mean, I think it's great to be active in what you are passionate about. Like, yeah.
Love that answer.
To be simple.
Very quick and concise.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know how I could have elaborated.
No, I mean that's perfect. So, do you think Korean pop groups have had a hand in how American K-pop fans deal with politics?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, no problem. Do you think Korean pop groups, K-pop groups have had a hand, involvement in how American K-pop fans deal with politics, like interact with them in some certain way, like, protest or speaking out on social media, for instance?
No, that's actually a really interesting question. I do think that like people who really listen to K-pop, like I feel like it probably does like. Cause I think about all the people who I know who listen to K-pop, and I feel like with politics, like they're so like they're calm about it, which I think is really nice. Like I think in America, especially like this day and age, like there's a lot of like politics feel a lot like a fighting arena. Like they don't really feel like how people say they used to, in terms of like it used to more so be like just like debating in the political realm, whereas now it just truly feels like they're in like a boxing match. Like I don't know, but I look at my friends who listen to K-pop, and I feel like the way they talk about politics and like the way they view politics, it's all very calm, very opposite of like what I would consider the modern agenda for American politics. So I think that like if these K-pop groups do have any effect, I think it's that like maybe it kind of aligns with the whole like self-love and like love yourself and positive message in a way, because like I feel like that enforces a lot of like tranquility among people. So I don't know, maybe that like influences the peace that they have towards politics as well. I don't know, I've never thought about that. That's an interesting question though. Like to think about that.
Yeah. So, the next question is, with fans being anywhere from the age of 9 to well over 50, in what capacity do you think BTS, a group you already pretty much know of, GOT7, or Stray Kids has influenced American fans to pay attention to politics?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know much about like where these groups like if they have like if they're like political like activists or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine that if like they are active in politics, that like I feel like they wouldn't be partisan, which maybe I'm wrong, but also like I say partisan, like I guess that's a more of American approach. Like I don't know, but I feel like I don't know. I really don't know.
No problem at all. Alrighty, so do you think K-pop has influenced Asian hate crimes as well?
In America? Or?
Mm-hmm. In America.
I will say, I think that some people get this kind of regime of K-pop, or like they kind of like look at it in a certain way, and I think like it does kind of like, I don't know if I would say hate crimes per se, but I think that there is some like bullying around it. You know, I think since it's not like a typical like American like thing, like I think there is some bullying that goes on in youth at least, or like some people feel like they have to hide it. I will say I had one friend in high school who really liked K-pop, but she would like deny it until the day she died, and then she wouldn't even like, she saw BTS in concert and everything. But I remember I tried to talk to her about it one time, and like she like completely denied. I'm like, I know you were seeing them in concert in a month. Like, why are you like so scared to tell me? Like, we're friends. So I feel like it is kind of odd, like that there's like kind of that like stigma almost with K-pop sometimes. So I feel like you could say, yeah, it has increased hate crimes in a way, but I think that's just because it's like out of the American regime, and I think sometimes in America at least, like when things are out of the regime, like people like get weird. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so our second to last question is, do you think Asian hate crimes rising or falling was caused by it, as in K-pop, being popular? If so, do you think K-pop artists speaking out against it has lowered its effectiveness?
I'm not sure if they would contribute to it rising or falling. Do you think, like, in America?
Yes, in America.
You know, I'm really not sure. I think, if anything, I'm really not sure. Because I think, like, there's people who, like, I think K-pop does have such a positive influence, but then I just think about, like, all these people who, like, are, like, America-only regime, you know what I mean? And, like, they may not like K-pop, and that might spark some, like, conflict in a way, but I don't know if it would, like, contribute to, like, anything, like, of substance, like, noteworthy, per se, but that, and then, I think that, like, if the singers in the bands and stuff, like, I think if they spoke out against it, like, I do think it would have some effect, because I think sometimes, like, in America at least, or like in other places too, like it's really easy to forget that like the root of, like, when you're hating, like what the root of that is that you're hating. So like these people could be like hating on K-pop or whatever, and like hate crimes, like whatever regarding it, but I feel like it's very easy to like forget that like those are actual people in a band that you're hating on, right? And like it's hard to view them as human, and I think that like if they do speak out against it, it kind of like reminds these people that like they are human and they hear what you're saying and it hurts. You know, like they might be on TV all the time or like whatever and literally look like perfect, like they're AI generated. But at the end of the day, they are a real person, and they have human like emotions and feelings, and like it's very easy just with celebrities in general to get caught, like to like forget that, you know, like you wouldn't say that to like your friend, to the person sitting next to you on the metro, like why are you saying that about them? You know, I don't know.
All right, so our last question of the day is, after this interview, do you think you're more interested in K-pop?
Honestly, yes. Like, I don't know why, like, but I'm definitely gonna try and find that one song I referenced in the first question, because like I just remember I could like picture myself like dancing to it. I was like trying to do like arm waves to it and stuff like that. Like I definitely think I'm gonna try and find that song, and I think like I don't know, this definitely did stimulate some like I should look into it. So I'll definitely get your like recs and stuff, because like I feel like I'm always looking for new music, and I feel like kind of like what I said earlier, like I feel like I listen to a wide variety of things, you know, but like I feel like within that variety, like there's only like XYZ, like, you know, like a handful of songs I really, really like I don't even branch out in there per se. So I feel like it would be cool to explore a new genre, you know, and if it's all about like self-love, like I want to love myself, like I don't know, that could be kind of cool.
Yes, literally BTS literally had a full album on loving, sorry, 3 full albums.
I love that.
They had a whole trilogy, so
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I'll get you into that.
Okay, cool.
But once again, this has been Miss Reagan interview today. Thank you so much for sitting for this interview.
Thank you for letting me chat about it.
Absolutely. Alrighty, and with that, we'll be transitioning to the next person.
All right, I know that one was a long one, but one more. I have a very quick one. It's like 5 minutes. Stick with me. And this one is going to be Miss Victoria Stargell. I was actually the one who got her interested in K-pop back during my senior year of high school. So she joined around the time when the fourth generation was about to come into play. She joined around 2018, 2019. She became a fan. So I hope you enjoy her perspective on K-pop, political activism, and Asian hate crimes.
Hello, this is Andrea Johnson, and I'm currently sitting with Miss Victoria Stargell. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
She's currently a junior at Howard University, and she became a K-pop fan in 2019. So we'll go ahead with the first question. When did you first experience K-pop? For example, was there a specific moment where you realized you were listening to K-pop or experiencing it?
Yes, I would say the time my friend introduced it to me, she was like really interested in it and wanted to get me into it. So she showed me like the first video that popped up, and we just started watching a bunch of them, and I enjoyed what I was hearing.
Nice, nice. What was your first reaction to it?
At first, I was a little like confused. Of course, since I don't know Korean, I was like, "What are they saying?" But of course, we have the captions going, so you're kind of getting a vibe of what they're saying while listening and seeing them do their movements, which was kind of cool.
Cool. Has your influence with K-pop affected your daily life?
I don't think it's affected it too much, but maybe like in a positive way. Like it's made me more diverse in like the music I listen to.
Hmm. Do you feel as if K-pop influences Americans in any way?
Yes, I think so. Now we that K-pop has become a little bit more mainstream. We've seen a lot more, or for myself, I've seen a lot more in introduction of like Korean fashion, skincare, those types of things.
What has what have you witnessed K-pop do for others? For example, do you think that Americans act differently due to listening to a different form of music per se?
Mm, maybe so. Like I know, for example, like with BTS, they do a lot of loving yourself promotion, and I think that that has helped a lot of Americans when I guess quarantine happened, and a lot of people were down because of being stuck at home and not able to communicate and socialize as much. So I think that the whole love yourself campaign helped a lot.
What are your thoughts on political activism?
Political activism, I won't lie, I'm not too familiar with it, but I think political activism is important because, of course, we need to be aware of what's going on around us and be able to help the community in any way we can.
Thank you for that answer. Do you think Korean pop groups have had a hand in how American fans deal with politics?
Um, Somewhat, but I'm not too sure in what ways. I have seen a lot more activism happening, like throughout the communities when they see things happening and they're like, oh, well, that's not very how do I word it? That's not very inclusive to a certain demographic, and they have been trying to do their best to be more inclusive and like hone in on those other demographics.
With fans being anywhere from, for example, the age of 9 to well over 50, in what capacity do you think BTS, GOT7, or Stray Kids, or all three, has influenced American fans to pay attention to politics?
I think that any of the three have influenced them to pay attention to politics in the regard of like being more aware that there are social issues going on, like there are things that are wrong with our politics and politicians, period. So I think it's helped shed some light on it and help people become more aware that they need to be present or stay informed.
Very smart answer. Love that. Do you think K-pop has influenced Asian hate crimes as well? If so, how?
Honestly, yes, I do think so because some people assume because someone likes K-pop that that's their whole life. They automatically assume like, oh, you're a Korea boo or you're like too immersed into it, so they automatically assume like, oh, you must want to be Asian, which is a very hypocritical and negative stereotype. which I think has triggered some hate because when you're actually a person of color that is Asian, it can probably look like, oh, just because you're Asian, you probably do like K-pop, and they may not have ever even listened to it.
I've seen that myself. Do you think Asian hate crimes rising or falling was caused by K-pop becoming popular in recent years? If so, do you think K-pop artists is speaking out against it has lowered its effectiveness?
I think so, yes. I think, like, with the increase of its popularity, it did garner more hate. But thanks to them speaking out, it's kind of subsided, and people are like, oh, well, maybe it's not as serious as they amped it up to be.
And last question. After this interview, do you think you are more interested in K-pop?
Probably, yeah, because I got into a little bit of a hiatus in listening to it, and I might actually start back listening to it now.
The listeners don't know about hiatuses yet.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Again, this has been Zayandra Johnson interviewing Miss Victoria Stargell. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And we'll go on to the next section of the video essay.
So, in closing, I want to make sure that everyone understands that K-pop is here to stick around. And we need to understand that although some people may think that it's just music, it's way more than that. K-pop is a form of language. It's although they do sing in another language, music in itself is language. And we can see through lyric analysis that things can change. People can have personal biases, predetermined biases behind what somebody is. And just because of a certain ethnicity or a certain person who listens to music that has a certain ethnicity, they think that everyone is the same, and it's not. And I hope that through this video, you were able to get a better understanding of how music, specifically K-pop in this sense, can influence an entire country, its listeners. Because in my opinion, anyone who listens to K-pop or anyone who's surrounded by people who listen to K-pop and are very vocal about it, they do have opinions. And these are the same people who have voting rights, who are able to exercise their First Amendment rights, who are able to vote, who are able to have discussions, who are able to be politically active. Yeah, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you do. Maybe follow. I don't know. Have a good day, morning, night. This again has been Andrea, and I hope once again that you enjoyed. By the way, I'm an ARMY. That's my old group.